All right, everybody, welcome back to the DAM Formula One podcast. I am Matt Vimonti, as always. I am joined by David Dietrich tonight, and we have a special guest, Adam Brilz, as our other colleague, Austin Reel. So legend has it, right, that Esteban Ocon is still serving penalties in Austria, and legend also has it that the Williams SNS F1 team is still at the hot dog stand in Australia eating hot dogs to take care of their rough evening last night. So if they're out there, I'm hoping that there's plenty of relish and all that good stuff out there for them. The buns aren't too stale. I hope Austin comes back soon. I know it was a tough night for him, but at any rate, we have a very capable replacement this evening in Adam Brills, and I've had some good times with Adam in the off season and things like that, and we've gotten to know each other over the last, I'd say, about year and a half or so. So it's good to have you on the pod with us, Adam.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Excited to banter about racing and all that stuff.
Yeah, man. So let's talk a little bit about. I want to talk a little bit about the driver finishes from our race that we just had, and so David, congratulations on your first place on that W. That's pretty amazing stuff. So congratulations on that. Rounding
Thank
out
you.
the yeah, man. Rounding out the podium, Kyle Spees, no surprise, takes home a silver medal, and then Matthew Painter takes home a bronze medal for third place there. All the rest of the scores you can check out. Remember, if you are in the Discord, which you obviously are if you're listening to this pod, it is in the General Resources tab. It is pinned. I know I alerted some people to that the other day. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure to check that out. Austin Real does an amazing job maintaining the spreadsheets, and typically it's done, within I'd say 30 minutes to an hour of the race being complete, barring any steward penalties, reviews, or anything like that. Usually really on top of it. So thanks again, Austin, for taking time to do that kind of stuff. Really, really an amazing historical record of the league, going back several years and several seasons. So again, if you haven't checked it out, please do give Austin some love on that. Again, it makes it all worth it to do stuff like that. I'm going to talk about the teams really briefly here. So again, it it's kind of a runaway for first place. I'll say for Alfa Romeo, they have 91 team points right now, so they're way out in front to start. Haas F1 team, excuse me, has 61 points. 61 points on the season, so really cool to see that.
I
Aston,
couldn't get I couldn't get through those last 10 laps without Hayden, so he's part of the team.
all right, pulling up the rear is still pulling up something, so that's pretty good. So Aston Martin, our defending champions, have 47 points. Alpine, aka Barrett Powers Racing, has 36 points. It's really a surprising. I don't want to do this to people, but David has 61 points. That's all of Haas's points. Barrett has 36 points. That's all of Alpine's points. Then in fifth place, Tyler Davis has all of Mercedes points at 31 points. Down there in sixth is McLaren, whose team principal is joining us, Adam Brills. They have 28 points. My team, Ferrari, we have 27 points, so we're a point behind. We're within striking distance of some. And then that Williams team I mentioned is the last team with points on the grid. They have 20. And AlphaTauri and Red Bull Racing, both with zeros so far, but I don't expect that to stay that way for very long, especially given the point change we did for the fastest lap and things like that. There's totally ways, unorthodox ways to get points, and I assume it's just a matter of time. There's really talented drivers on both of those teams, so I assume that they're going to score some points here in the near future. Cool. Now that we did that, let's talk a little bit about our first sprint race in our history. I went over it a bit in my. We're going to start calling it the cool down room, I think is what we're going to call it. And thanks to Senior Rishko for doing a graphic on that. I know he's busy working on that thing for me. That's kind of been in the works for a little while. It was going to be like a regular F1 pod, and it still might. Once the season goes live, I'll have some more stuff to talk about, which I did today. I talked a little bit about F1 news, so if you want to hear a little bit about that and my unfiltered thoughts, definitely go ahead and check that out. It's going to be in with these pods as well. But I want to open up the floor to you guys a little bit, talk about your sprint races and your experience. And David, since you won the sprint race, I'm going to turn it over to you first to chat about it.
Sure, yeah. The sprint race. It was crazy. The biggest thing that I don't know how many people did practice races and noticed this, but the biggest thing was your tire allocation and what you could really do with it. So the medium tires are a little bit more comfortable on the sprint race for that many laps, especially if you're battling. But if you use the mediums there, you don't have a medium to use for the race. Is what I ran into my practice race. So last minute, and I mean like 10 minutes before I joined the lobby to race, uh, I decided that I was going to try to run softs for the sprint. I thought as long as there's one safety car, I can run softs the entire time, and it might give me a chance to get out in front of everybody. So I ran those. It worked out really well with the safety car, and I got to save the mediums for the race. But overall, I just enjoyed it. I thought it was more cars on track, so to speak. It obviously shook up things. I don't think, by any means it'd be something that I want to do 7 times a year, but I think it's really fun to have two of them on the schedule.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. My thoughts kind of echoed that this morning when I was thinking back on it. I think 10 laps is a little bit too brief for me. Again, I'm not going to re-dive into my whole thing, but I do think 10 laps is a little brief. I did mention if we go to full races in the off season, it does extend those a little bit, which might be worth exploring. So, Brills, take me through your sprint race and kind of your strategy for it.
Yeah, so I kind of stuck with the whole medium strategy, as did most of the grid, but there were definitely a few guys going with the sauce. Obviously, Dave, you were mentioning you did. Barrett behind me also did that. I started way back in 12, and it did get a little hectic at turn one. I was one of the victims and kind of got spun out. Didn't get any damage, so that was a good thing. And then kind of clawed my way through is I guess a little bit of hell broke loose. I wouldn't say all hell, but a little bit of hell broke loose. Um, but yeah, no, I like the sprint idea. I do agree. 10 laps was a little bit short.
Yeah.
I'd say like maybe 11 or 12 or even 13 laps could kind of
And what's kind of
really.
unfortunate too is Australia is such a fast track that, like, if this was Spa, I bet it'd be like 6 laps. I think it'd be even less. Luckily,
You'd
I
be.
think the other sprints Austria though, so that is probably like 12 or 13 laps.
Yeah, well, yeah. Spa would be like you get off the line and then whoever gets the line first wins.
Second sector, yeah, to the second sector.
Yeah, no, I like the sprint idea. And yeah, I don't know if I'd want to do it 7 times. I kind of like having it as like a bit of a special thing. Maybe something to circle on the calendar if you like them. And
Yep.
again, like it's another great chance to kind of move your way up this. Like even if you don't get points, which I didn't, I finished ninth in this sprint. But it was nice to be able to establish like my setup wasn't really good for qualifying, so it was nice to kind of have a sprint in a race to setting to kind of build my way up the standings ahead of the race.
Yeah, I'm glad
Because
you mentioned
really,
that. I'm glad. Hold on one second, Dave. I'm glad you
yeah,
mentioned
no
that because
worries.
that's an interesting point. I kind of glanced over this morning. So people do have different setups for different things, right? And some people really more of a balanced, so they can run the race and run the qualifying. Some people really rely on qualifying to get a spot on them, and yeah, having that 10 laps where it's like, well, if you have a good qualifying setup and I have a better race setup, it does give you some room to make up some opportunity to make up ground. So that's a good shout, Adam. I honestly didn't think about that until you just said that.
So can we quickly get? I want to know for each of you, what position did you qualify in? What position did you finish the sprint in? And then what position did you finish the race in?
Yeah, Adam, do you remember yours off the top of your head?
I do. So
Okay.
I qualified 12th, finished the sprint ninth, and then I finished the race in seventh.
Okay.
Okay, nice. So moved up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I think I started. I want to say I qualified seventh. I can't remember off the top of my head. And then I ended the sprint in seventh, so I stayed the same. Then I ended up moving up one spot in the race to sixth.
Nice.
Nice.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember. I think, yeah, I had a hat trick. I qualified first, won the sprint, and won the race.
Oh, that's interesting.
Had a
All right.
Verstappen weekend. Verstappen weekend, as they say.
Sounds like you're a front runner. That's what that sounds like to me. Very good. All right, cool. Well, I'm glad everybody got to share their thoughts on the sprints. My overall gut feeling is that they were successful, that one was successful.
Yep.
We'll see how the second one goes. I know we vetoed the short qualifying for him, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I think it I think I would. Let me see how to phrase this. I think I would enjoy the one shot qualifying. I don't know if enjoy is the right word, but I would tolerate one shot qualifying if the sprint was longer.
Yeah.
I'd
It'd
be
be more
more on
worth the
board.
sacrifice.
Yeah, I think I'd be more on board for that. So we'll see the evolution on them. Again, we'll David and I talk a lot about this with Austin. Um, this season's really good for us for collecting data and things like that.
Yeah.
So we're collecting data on like how do we feel about the excuse me about the long races how versus fulls. How do we feel about sprint races? One shot quality versus short. What about full quality, long quality? There's all these things, and we have a great group this season. Probably the best possible to
Yep.
collect data from. I think I mentioned a few times in our chat, David. Like if I had a group of 20 people that I wanted to collect data with, like this is probably the group.
Yeah, I think
So that's great.
we've talked about this before. I think that it's something where we've kind of spent a lot of time focusing on what we could do to make the league more fun, and of course we're always thinking of things like that. But I think this is a year where it's like we're so comfortable with the people we have because we really do have a very good group and everybody stays competitive and things like that. So it's like we can kind of sit back and go, okay, what's working, what's not working, like what's worth the time,
Yeah.
and then so we can just continue to tailor it to what the group's looking for.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's a good season for that as we keep moving here. All right, cool. So we talked a little about the sprint, so that's good stuff. I'm gonna browse through the over unders real quick here, and we're gonna see where we were. I'm trying to shake these up a little bit, guys. So if you have any ideas for things that I could do either weekly or one off, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not the most creative person in the world. I try really hard, and I was like, God, these suck. And David's like, No, dude, these are awesome. These three things you put in here are awesome. So it's tough, I'll say, to come up with fresh new things. So if you see some repeats that just have different people in, it's because I use a template to try and generate some interest that way and get a bunch of people in. But anyways, let's talk about these. So how many safety cars this evening? The line was 1.5. Do we have two total, or do we have? I don't remember how many we total had. Was
Well,
it two?
we definitely had two, but I think one was just a VSC. Because when I pit for softs, I was stoked about the safety car,
Yeah.
but it was only a VSC, and that actually worked out better.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we definitely had two.
Yeah, two. Okay.
Yeah, and are we including sprint too? Because I think we had one in the
We
We
did
sprint.
have
had one
one.
in the sprint.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah. So I guess that question is kind of ambiguous, but it says this evening, so that would count. I would say.
Yeah.
How many teams scored double points this week? There was a whole bunch. So 1.5. We're gonna change that line. That one's kind of weak.
Okay.
So I'll end up changing that line and kind of see where we're at, like what the composite is on that. I want to say it's usually like three teams,
I think
three-ish
what we should
teams.
do, I think what we should do is because we are kind of using a template for this, we can go back and see, okay, like which was like 13 to 2, and
Yeah,
just
yeah.
be like, all right, let's bump that line.
Yep, exactly. So we'll do that. So we'll the odds makers department in the executive suite will get on that one this week. We'll make sure we get them going. Combined McLaren and Williams point total this evening. So this is a good one to have Adam on for. So the total I set was 12.5, and I'm going to do some scrolling and see where we're at here.
Yeah, so Adam
And
took 7.
yeah, so Adam secured 4 points. So he was about a third of the way there by himself. And then his teammate, the rookie Pete Norris, scored 17 total
Nice.
the weekend.
Beautiful.
So 21 points for McLaren on the weekend. And let me see if Williams added any points to that total. Nope, doesn't look like it. So, anyways, oh, he did it. So, guys, just a shout out to David and I found. Well, David found the soundboard this evening, and he is an easily amused child. So that's kind of where
I
that
can't
came
believe
from.
it's taken. I cannot believe it's taken this long to use this.
So he went for that. Wasn't me, guys. So you want to be pissed at somebody? Direct your anger
Yeah,
at David.
in
Uh,
about a month, it's just gonna be like soundboard for the entire
That's
podcast.
all it's
literally,
gonna be.
literally
It's
just
gonna
a
be a
soundboard.
dubstep showing.
Exactly. All right, total number of DNFs was 2.5. I know we exceeded that, so that was good. We actually that one won the house some money. There was 11 votes for under that, so house won some big
Oh,
old money.
who did go out? So we had Jordan go out. Uh, Richard went out, I think.
Richard went out. Jordan went out.
There's one more, I think.
I think Troy went out at some point. I can't remember fully. Um, I'm pretty sure that happened. I don't know. Maybe I created that in my head.
And then I guess with the sprint as well, there was maybe one or two that went out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah. All
You gotta
right.
count that for every time you do with the betting.
Yeah, we're gonna have to bump up the numbers
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, you guys had a free one and you chose not to take it, so the house wins there. All right. Will the league record, which was held by Tyler Davis for fastest lap, be broken? And oddly enough, Tyler broke his own record, which is cool. So that was pretty awesome. He beat it by like 3 seconds,
By
which
like
is crazy.
three and a half. Yeah.
I think a lot of these things too, and I don't want to get off too much on a tangent about it, but now that we have that rule in place, like this might be the first time people are actually on soft tires to be breaking records.
Yeah.
So you're going to see a
Yeah.
lot of them get crushed, and they might not get touched for a while, to be honest with
And
you.
I was gonna say, I think that's kind of cool. Is that it could be ones that like these are gonna be like if you break one next year, it's gonna be a big deal.
Yeah, yeah, super crazy. All right, how many people complained about the sprint in the post race lobby? That was pretty good.
Zero.
Zero.
I
Yeah,
saw
I
zero.
really don't
Yeah.
think anybody complained, which is crazy because you know
Yep.
you guys go look in a mirror, you love to complain.
Yep.
All right, can Red Bull Racing secure their first points of the season? The answer to that was no. They have a zero still next to their name.
Not even gonna hit it. I'm not even touching the soundboard.
Yeah, that was a freebie, but you passed on it. Remember that.
Nope.
All right.
Nope.
The missing finger battle. I thought that was pretty funny. Who finishes higher? Barrett and Pete both had unfortunate finger injuries. I know. Speaking to Barrett in the post race, he was talking about he ran sector one in eighth gear. I think he said, which was kind of funny. I was like,
Holy
man, you must have
crap.
been flying. And he's like, no, I started in eighth gear. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, got it. All right. So who finished higher? Barrett or Pete? And that one goes to Barrett by one singular place. So
That's a good battle.
good on Barrett. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, really good one. Uh, our rivalry reignited. Holy cow! Who finishes higher? Sweet William or Austin Real? And unfortunately, Austin had some issues. I'm not gonna name any names or anything like that, but he had some issues in the start of the race. And these ones are tough, man. You have issues in the start of the race. Your race is maybe not over, but it's effectively over. You're gonna have some wood to chop. So he gets overtaken by Will, who scored a couple points for us. I will say Will was like first place going through the qualifying, the one shot quali through two sectors, and I was like, holy shit, this dude's cooking. And then we just had some unfortunate stuff happen in the
I was gonna say
race.
I'm very curious, kind of what happened because I was second the whole time he was first in quali, and then I was able to get him at the end, but it was really fast. And I mean, I immediately was thinking that Will was going to be top three through the whole thing, and it seemed like he kind of just checoed back, like a little bit into the grid, and just
Yeah,
I'm assuming something happened because it seemed like he had a lot of pace. And we kind of talked about this a little bit before, but in the off season, you can tell he's a very fast driver. So it's like I think he just is continuing to get comfortable, but like I think we kind of saw a little bit of light of how good this guy can actually be.
yeah. I think to do off of Adam's earlier point, you can have a really awesome quali, then you can have a really shitty sprint, which leads to like a really mid race, right? So,
Yep.
I think I want to say Will qualified third or second, one of the
I think
two.
he was second. I think he was right behind you.
So qualifies second and then ends up getting ninth in the sprint, right? Or excuse me, gets eighth in the sprint. So thinking about that, right?
The point.
You drop 6 places, and that's where you start in the race instead of, could have started second
Yeah.
if it was just regular qualifying. So something to think about as we
Yeah.
get moving. So, anyways, thanks everybody for participating in those over unders. Those are a lot of fun to do. I try and have some fun with them when we can. But again, if you have ideas on things we should add or omit, please let me know. I'm happy to take any kind of constructive feedback on that. All right, David, you're up. I got you. You got some historical stats you want to chat about?
Yeah, nothing crazy. I just we've been talking a little bit about the past of the league, and it is kind of cool to just because we have all these stats, like it's crazy that we don't use them more. So I've been just trying to keep an eye on just a few unique things that happen each week. So obviously, one big thing for me was that I got a win, and I have like Pete and Will keep like hitting me up, and they're like, "Dude, all off season you told us you were not that good, and this is bullshit that you won a race already." So we were talking about the last time I won a race, which was a very long time ago, and it was actually season two, first race of the season in Bahrain, and I definitely bumped Tyler in the back. I wouldn't say it was anything crazy, but it spun him a little bit. I think he probably would have
Nice.
won the race, and I ended up winning. And that was actually my only other win. So
Oh wow.
Bahrain, yeah, Bahrain season two, 15 drivers total on the grid. And yeah, now season five, after no podiums at all last year, able to get a win. So I thought that was cool. Just it's been quite a while, so just some significance. This podium, no combo of this three has ever been created in the league. So me, Matthew, and Spees up there, first time ever. As you mentioned earlier, Tyler did beat his own lap record, which I thought was cool. He beat it by over 3 seconds, so I thought that was cool for him to get that. And then, so Spees, Matthew, and David, I talked a little bit about that podium. All three of those guys have two podiums out of the first three races. And that brings us all to exactly 12 podiums in the history of racing. Now, keep in mind, because I know it's going to get brought up, I've raced more seasons than these guys.
Yeah.
So their podiums probably carry a little bit more weight than mine for sure. And that's two really good drivers, so that's fine. And it ties us. It is now at 12 podiums. Spees, Matthew, David, and Rish. So
Oh, very
that's
cool.
pretty cool. Again, just kind of some unique facts. Like we have all that here, so it's like why not use it? So I just thought that was cool to kind of go through those.
Very good. Yeah, it's cool to have. Again, thanks Austin Real for putting all that together, so we can compile cool data like that, and we can do our own little sports center useless facts thing. It's pretty fun to be able to check on all that kind of stuff and make up. Maybe we'll make up like the LeBron stats at some point. The ones that are like so outlandish, they just you're like,
Yes.
really? All right, cool. Well, we got Adam here, so I wanted to take some time to chat with him. And Adam's really a great source of McLaren history, I would say, because we so if you don't know a lot about the league, which some of you may not who listen to this, and it's very cool that you are listening to the stuff we have. So we just actually changed to the real F1 liveries in season 4. So in season 3 we had some cool stuff. We had like Sonic Zapato and Los Toros and all these unique like custom liveries and things like that, which was fun, I will say. But there's just something to be said, man, about like looking in your rearview mirror and there's a Mercedes back there or something. It just like feels different to me, you know. Anyways, we started doing that in season 4, which was when Adam joined us, and he was just a shade under 100 points. And he was teammates with Mitch Rishko. So I'm going to let you talk a little bit about maybe the history of McLaren and things like that, Adam.
Sure, yeah. So, a little quick background. I joined the league through Mitch. I was in a different league before. He kind of batted me into this one, and obviously
Which league
joined
would
him.
you say is better on
Yeah, please, please say,
Max
yeah, please
Medium
say that.
or Matsu? Like,
Oh,
if you could just,
100% this league.
and we'll get you that $20 right after the show, Adam. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I thought you said it was gonna be 50. Anyways, um, so yeah, joined season. Well, I did subbed a couple races season 3. Officially, kind of joined the grid season 4, and yeah, unfortunately, Mitch wasn't able to make the. I think he only made one race just because babies and stuff. So, but yeah, it was a good first season. Really enjoyed racing with everybody. Obviously, you mentioned had a decent points total. This year has been a little more of a struggle overall for just because the grid's been a lot more like it's very so competitive this season. But in the off season, Mitch kind of passed principalship to me. I don't know if principalship's a word, but
It
I
is
gave him the
now.
one.
Love
There
it.
we go. And so I kind of found it was interesting to try to find a new driver as Mitch and I kind of decided, let Mitch kind of head his way. I'll try to find someone else. And then just happened that Pete joined the league. And I was like, well, I got to find another Canadian, of course.
I think we
Even
literally
though,
said like, "Oh, the Canadians are splitting up," and then he immediately found another one.
yeah, we're relentless. We will show up no matter where. But yeah, no, and it's been good racing with him the first few races this year. We've had again maybe not the results we were hoping for, but yeah, we're hoping to kind of build as the season goes on.
Very cool. Yeah, it's interesting. And David won't be able to speak on this because he's been with the same teammate for I think 3 seasons in a row now. But I know for me, and maybe you can shed some light on your situation. It's maybe not weird. I don't. That's not a good choice of words. I don't like that, but it's definitely different to have a new partner as your driver two or driver one, whatever it might be, a new teammate. The communication style is different. The practice sessions are maybe a little bit different if you're doing those. Hopefully you are. But it's definitely like a different dynamic, and I alluded to it a little bit on my personal pod that the communication with Will and I just like we just got to get better together about communicating because maybe there's like some info we don't need, and sometimes we share info we share info like that, and sometimes we don't share the info that we might need. Where I knew from racing with Real for 2 seasons, he knew exactly what I was going to tell him, and I knew exactly what he was going to tell me throughout the race to keep each other going. So what? How's your communication with Pete been this season?
I found the communication's been pretty decent so far. There are probably some spots that we could definitely improve on overall. I remember with the first race in Bahrain, I did like a one of the just races against AI, and I was documenting everything, and it really didn't mean much in the end. So after that, I was like, well, you know what? I'm just gonna kind of keep things a little more simple from race two and on. And yeah, I feel like I don't know. I feel like the communication's been not too bad. We're talking about tires, uh, stints, and kind of where our wear's at and how it's feeling. But I kind of lean towards not communicating as much just because I'm trying, like, when I'm communicating, I lose my focus a little bit. Um, but I feel like we're definitely improving, and I think by the end of the year, we're going to be just like right in sync.
Yeah, very good. I mean, that's all you can really ask for, right? Is just by like mid-season you hit your stride and things kind of come together from there. So
Exactly.
so on that, so talking about now, you mentioned that the season's off to a little bit of a rougher start from you because the grid is super competitive. What kind of goals do you have personally and for McLaren going forward?
Well, I would first like to say, throwing us pretty high up on the predictions, putting a lot of pressure on us.
Yeah, that was the caster
Uh,
curse, is what we call that.
yeah,
We were
thanks,
afraid
guys.
of you. That's why we did it.
trying to nullify us a little bit. Yeah, I think our goal is just keep climbing up the grid. I would say if we can get top three team overall, I think that would be a really good year for us. Just because
Yeah.
Pete's kind of feeling out how everyone races. Um, I'm kind of starting to get a little bit more into the groove a bit, and I think we definitely have the potential to be a top three team. I don't know if we're going to be quite climbing up and catching Alpha at this point, but um, I mean it's a long season, right? Like who
Yeah,
knows what's going to happen as the year goes on? We got a couple full races. We still got another sprint going on, so yeah, I'd say top three is kind of what we're aiming for.
cool, man. Yeah, really a realistic goal, I think. And like you mentioned, there's a lot of points to be had so far. We're through 3 races in a sprint. We're not even like a third of the way through the season, which is pretty cool. Gets you some more seat time and more teammate time and all that stuff. And I think really the sky's the limit for you guys. And definitely 2 people. I'm like, man, these guys are pretty fast. So I like seeing you guys on the track. So good deal. You got anything else about McLaren before we talk about our next race?
Hmm. I don't think so. I think
Okay,
that kind of covers pretty much everything for now.
cool, man. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about Portugal, and I was kind of lost geographically this morning, but I believe I said Portugal was where I was racing last night. So I was on this track for I want to say I had hit my limit last night. I probably ran 30 minutes worth of laps on here last night with Will in like an open practice session, and man, this course is tough. That's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna let David. I'm gonna let you talk about it a little bit, but there's like all these blind corners. There's elevation changes. There's all kinds of crazy. Portugal just has like everything to me.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We always like I feel like we always say that this track is it's like a roller coaster. It's literally up and down, side to side. Shout out Lando Norris. It's like blind. The biggest thing is you have blind corners here, and as you know, it's the racing lines are just tough to follow because it's just you don't know where guys are braking because you can't see them until you get all the way up there. And when you stack 10 cars on top of each other, it gets very very hard. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a little crazy, I think for sure. Last time we were here, just so you guys know, season three, this was on F122. The podium was Tyler took first, Rish took second, and I took second, and Rish took third. So I don't know. It's one of those where it's going to be very competitive. It's going to be close, and again with the blind corners and stuff like that, and the hills. I mean, if you haven't ran it, if you're one of the newer guys and you haven't ran Portugal, as soon as you hear this, I would start practicing because it's like you can't just show up and drive this course.
Yeah, for sure. Brills, what's your feelings on Portugal?
I love it. I think my thought about Portugal, it's kind of like if you were to build an F1 track that wasn't in a street circuit or anything like that.
Do those
This is what I
exist?
feel like they would build.
Yeah,
um,
And
yeah,
this feels like I always feel like this is like if you could create a track on the game, this is what I would come up with.
let's just find random hills and throw them in some short or some
Mm-hmm.
slow speed, some fast speed turns. Why not? Um, I'm really interested to see how qualifying goes. You
oh
keep
yeah,
mentioning all those blind corners, the
Oh
hills.
yeah.
It's going to be so critical for people to have that map, the full track map there, and also to stay off the race line because there we could have a plane crash if if somebody's coming down the hill, they can't see anything until all of a sudden, boom, there's a car right on the racing line.
yeah, man. I'm
Speaking
So,
of that, last time we ran this in season three, it was a full rain race as well.
yeah,
oh,
yeah, it was. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, Adam, because I that was going to be my point if no one brought it up was about the qualifying on these tracks where there's blind corners, elevation, like I mentioned, all this like super fast, super windy turns and things like that. Uh, Man, if you're on the racing line and you're coming along that long right-hander and you're on a slow lap, like someone's going to be pissed. There's a lot
mm-hmm.
of there's a lot of those fast, long, windy. They're not long, windy. What would you call them? They're like sweeping, big sweeping
Yeah.
curves,
Yep.
and
Yeah,
I think that's a good term for them. Anyways, they're big sweeping curves, and it's easy to lose track. Like when you're just on a cool down, you're like, yeah, all right, dude. Hey, man, that's pretty cool. I like that mountain out there. It looks pretty sick. But you can certainly lose people and lose track of where you're at on the course. So it's something to be mindful of. Again, you got to get out there and just run laps. Even run some laps at half speed, so you're used to like what you're where you should be when you're off the racing line. I know I find myself running like fourth gear laps off the racing line just to practice that. And I mean, maybe I'm psychotic for doing that, but it definitely stops me from getting in anybody's racing line and ruining their laps.
Keeps you from panicking in that situation. That's
Yeah,
a big
for
thing.
sure.
We were even talking
mm,
about the last few laps of this past race. I was really trying to take it easy just because the curbs are so slick when your tires start to go. And I was telling Hayden it's almost harder to do that because you've just never you get in such a flow, especially at a track like Portugal, that it's like to be in a different part of the track and to only be going like 70 miles an hour feels very very strange. And yeah, even if you just do a couple in time trial, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah. All right, boys.
I
I'm
will
gonna put.
also say,
Go ahead.
oh, sorry, just one more thing. I will say, turn one is going to be really
Yep.
interesting because
Always.
it's even more narrow than Australia. There is good amount of runoff on kind of the far side of the track, but there's I would not be surprised if there's at least one or two guys getting
That
damage out of
runoff
turn
is
one.
going to turn into a runway, and
Yeah.
guys are just going to be taking flight off the end of it for
Yeah.
sure.
Always a blast. Turn one in the long races for sure. All right, boys. So you're gonna be put on the spot here. So prediction time. How are we feeling about Portugal? And I'll just start with you, David, so I can give Adam a little break. Obviously,
Sure.
he's new to this thing. So go ahead.
All right. So, prediction for Portugal. I think we have seen a lot of good back and forth, some healthy competition for Williams and Ferrari. And Ferrari got double points this week. Williams scored no points this week for the first time this season. I'm gonna say it switches this week. I'm going to say Ferrari 0 points, Williams gets double points and celebrates, and there's going to be some drama in the Discord.
All right, guys, that'll do it for the end of the show. See you guys next week. Cool, good prediction. I like that. That's fun. I'm sure I will prove you wrong, and so will my teammate William. But I think,
I'm sure Will message me tonight and let me know that he's going to prove me wrong.
oh, I'm sure dude, he's gonna be just half a bottle in at 4 a.m. and just he's gonna load up your inbox.
Mikey, this isn't right.
I told you David's a child. We added in some soundboard things, or I added in some soundboard things, and now prepare yourself.
What have you done?
Exactly. I've created a monster. I'm gonna go delete them now and lock the permissions. Uh, all right, Adam, what do you got for predictions for the next race?
All right, I'm gonna go Battle of the Fingers for the win. I think Barrett's got some pretty good pace. Obviously, we know that. And I was just looking, and I do see him practicing right now,
Dude, he's
according to
practicing
the.
so much. I hate it.
I know, so that kind of terrifies me a bit. I've been chatting with Pete. He's really confident at this track. I think they're going to have one heck of a fight, and I think it might come down to the final laps. Who knows? But I think it'll be battle of the fingers, and somebody's going to be giving somebody the finger.
Let's
Somebody's gonna be
go.
fingering somebody. I
Oh,
know that.
love,
Show up Wednesday.
love that. I'm gonna have to mark this as not appropriate for younger crowds. That's good. Uh, all right, my prediction for Portugal. I believe that we are gonna have a repeat. Tyler Davis, first place. David in second, and instead of Mitch, because I'm not sure about his status for the race, as usual, but I'm going to pick my teammate to be third place
Nice.
and get a podium.
Nice.
Exactly, my friends. We're about ready to
Love
make the
that.
shit rain. We're gonna have some Ferrari
Some teammates
champagne.
love.
That's right. And Will, I've talked to Will also, and he has told me that he likes the next I think 3 tracks. He said he really likes. So what a better time to shine. And I think he's gonna start building that confidence a little bit after after being in the top half, top third of the grid for the qualifying. Like he knows the speeds there, man. You just gotta
He's
lock it
fast.
in. Yeah. And so I think he's gonna lock it in, and we'll see some stuff. And I'm really hoping that he snags a podium and spikes us up in the standings. That'd be super sick.
Nice. I love that.
Cool. All right, good deal. Yeah, no one's shitting on their teammates in this episode of the for the podcast. So believe it or not. All right, so we're gonna wrap the show up here. We're about 40 minutes in, so we're doing pretty good on time, guys. But I wanted to talk a little bit about winners and losers from round three. Anything stand out to you guys? I'll lead with David again.
Yeah, sure. So I wanted to take a little bit of a different approach on this, being that it's our first sprint race in the history of our league. So I'm looking at the overall points from the weekend slash Wednesday, so to speak, and just kind of seeing how people performed all together. My winner, definitely the one that stuck out to me was Pete. He wasn't sure if he was even going to be able to race. He said his daughter was sick. Obviously, we hope she's doing better. And he came in after the first 2 races. We've talked about it a little bit. He didn't really perform as well as he kind of thought that he could, or that we thought that he could. He took 7 points in the sprint and 10 points in the race for a 17-point weekend. Actually tying Barrett, 1 point behind Spees for the weekend. So overall, a very good weekend.
Cool.
Losers from this weekend. One that I think I'm kind of getting on him because I love this guy and he's just better than I think he's getting hit and just like we haven't really been talking about him a lot because he hasn't been up near the top where we usually see him. And I think he's getting bounced around the races maybe is Tyler. So
Yeah.
Tyler took home the fastest lap, had the fastest lap here last time. Got 6 points in the sprint, nothing in the race, but was able to tag on that 1 point for the fastest lap to bring home a 7 point weekend, which gives him. I mean, let's see, who's he behind? So he's Keaton, Bamonte, Matthew, Barrett. I mean, overall in points, he took home. He was eighth.
Yeah.
So again, not bad, but it's just like he just tied for the championship last year, and I know he can put up more points than that.
Yeah, no doubt. No excuses for Tyler, but I know he was a bit under the weather as well. I talked to him in the
Oh, I
pre
did not
pre
know that.
lobby. Yeah, I talked to him a bit in the pre, and he said he was still feeling Sick, but again, no excuses. Get out there, race, sweat it out, big guy.
Glad to,
You know what I
glad
mean?
to survive, dude. Glad
Exactly,
to
dude.
survive.
Exactly. All right, Adam, what do you got? Biggest winner and loser for you? Anything stick out?
Okay, yeah. Biggest winner, I would go. Um, I'd actually say Spees because I saw him kind of get a little bit in a messy situation out of turn one with me in that sprint. We both kind of got spun out, so fell right to the back. And sure, he didn't get any points in the sprint race, but he did collect second place in the actual race,
Yeah.
and that ended up earning him second most points of the weekend, which is pretty good for a pretty good recovery and kind of solidifying points wise the standings. So I would give him biggest winner,
Really
biggest
quick,
yeah.
I'll say with Spees too. Um, he definitely we kind of had we were back and forth in the post race lobby, and he was talking about, oh, if I would have got bounced around and stuff like this. He's absolutely right. Like you talk about, we kind of joke around about how I'll say that I don't really think I'm gonna do that good, and then I end up doing pretty well. Like this is a perfect example of I got away pretty quickly at the restarts and things like this. And what it came down to is under the VSC, Spees and I both pit for softs with 10 laps left, um, and came out 4 seconds apart. I had a couple mistakes. He ended up like 1.6 off of me. The thing is just that straight up, I mean, if we would have started right next to each other on softs, 10 laps left, he definitely would have taken the race. He had more pace. But at the end of the day, you are where you finish, and I don't want to hear it. And you got to control your own race. Is the
Mike,
point.
Mike, this isn't right.
Damn. All right, very good. Adam, you were going to finish a thought maybe on the biggest loser?
Oh man, you're making a Canadian chirp somebody.
You got to
Um,
do it, dude. It's part of the agreement you signed.
yeah. Okay. Well, I'll start off with sorry because I feel like that's what Canadians have to do.
Light them up.
I think I'm gonna go for the other Alpha and Keaton because he finished fifth in the thank you because he finished what fifth in the sprint race, pretty far ahead of his teammate, and then still was on only picked up that would have been what seventh
Yeah.
in the or eighth, yeah, seventh in the race.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, kind of was a bit behind his teammate at the end. So I think that's where I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, you guys were battling towards the end there. I was very thankful for you. I don't know if you heard me earlier, but I was thankful for you
Yeah,
battling with
yeah,
him.
I
Yeah.
heard you.
Yeah, so thanks for that. All right, cool. Well, good stuff, guys. I'm sure there'll be some enemies made from that, and that's totally fine. That's what we're here for, et cetera, et cetera. Uh, so, David, I want to get to you real quick on the rivalries. You just want to run down them. I know. Thanks again. Austin Real did a ton of work on these graphics. They look super sick. If you haven't seen
Very
them,
cool.
they're in the season 5 news. So, fire away, David. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go through these really quick. As Matt said, they're in season 5 news. They're really cool. I was telling, I think it was Painter earlier. These look like 6 sports cards that came out, so check them out. Keaton is up on Tyler 2-1. Matthew holds the lead over Keaton 2-1. Real is up on Doug 2-1. I am up on Barrett 2-1. In a pretty serious battle, Richard is up on Matt 2-1. Uh, Cassie is losing to Paulie 2-1. Pete is up 2-1 on his friend Will. Jordan is up 2-1 on Troy. And 2-1, giving Haas the lead over Red Bull, is Hayden over Brett. And finally, Adam is running unopposed and is up 3-0 on Rish. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Got to
It
take
does
the
seem to
wins.
bet. I want to be in a little more of a competitive battle than Rich.
That's right, man. All right, I'm hold on. I'm getting some extra info in my ear.
Oh,
Oh, we got a special announcement. Adam, you have. It sounds like you might have some special announcement for us here.
I do. So, for those folks that were around last year, you might remember very end of F122, and we were ready to throw that thing in the trash can. Um,
Mhm.
I did a little bit of a thing called no breaks given. Basically, for those who weren't here, I'll go quick summary. Basically, I simmed 10 because it's a 10 season my team career. I simmed all 10 seasons. Um, you can sim the races, so that's literally what I did. my driver would start 22nd every race, and then as the car developed, it would get better. And just kind of every day, 10 days, kind of like leading up to the um, release of F123, I would document how each season played out. So, like, for example, and spoiler alert, midway through season one, Carlos Sainz got dropped by Ferrari, and
Oof.
Sebastian Vettel took over.
That's
Bet accordingly. Bet accordingly.
right.
um, and yeah, it had some crazy results. I didn't manipulate the game at all. It was all literally the system that did it all, and it got weird. Lance Stroll won in the final season. Um,
Yikes.
yeah,
Super
Wimbledon
weird.
was that Wimbledon?
I knew it turned into a tennis game at some point.
Oh, shit.
Um,
Damn it.
thank you.
Damn it.
Oh boy, there's a new one. Um, but yeah, I am happy to announce that I will be bringing back No Breaks Given season two. Uh, kind of working on some stuff right now and storylines, but I will reveal one thing for those who have listened and made it
Okay.
to this point of the pod. It will
Hi,
feature
Passy.
it will feature an American owner.
Okay. All
Oh.
right. You do your
Don't
speculation
give
at
it
home.
away.
Yeah, exactly. Do your speculation at home. Be sure to check that out. We'll make sure there's a channel dedicated to that. Super cool initiative. Thanks for doing that, Adam. It definitely is something I know David and I used to look forward to in the mornings or whatever time we released any new info. It's cool. Follow along, and you guys probably get a kick out of it too. Another piece of content that's a little bit different than like an audio piece or anything like that. So
And if you would like to look back, if you go into the All Chat channel and then go into the threads, the one from last year is in there. So
I will
feel free to
definitely need to
look at
make
that
you.
if you want
We'll
to.
make you your own channel this year and
Yeah,
make it to where only you can put stuff in there. That's definitely the way to do it.
yeah, for sure. Just like we do with the news channel. Exactly. Very good. Cool. All right, David, you have an update on some principal voting and some things like that.
Yeah, just some quick housekeeping here. We put out a couple more regulation changes. So, as we talked about a little bit earlier this season, any kind of changes during the season, just to give us something set in stone to follow, we will do a principal vote on. All 10 teams have to unanimously vote to pass something. Otherwise, everything just stays the same. So, it keeps it kind of simple. First one, there's actually some drama involved. I'll leave the soundboard off for now. Doug requested to see if we could switch the date of our other one of our full races on the calendar. Doug is probably the biggest fan of the full races. We ran them last year. A lot of people, including myself, liked them and wanted to keep them. But I think we came to a good agreement with this, with doing just a couple of them and a couple sprints and things. So far, I've liked this. And again, we're always doing things like this just to make sure we can keep on top of what everybody kind of wants to do. But anyway, this did pass. All 10 voted in favor. At first, we had some people out on it. Matt kind of voted against it at first because it was a Boston thing, but it said once we get to 9, he'll flip back over and let it go probably. But yeah, so there's some back and forth, and it was kind of fun because guys were in there really, really making cases for, hey, everybody loves Doug. He's great for the league. He's just one of the nicest guys to talk to in there. This is one thing he cares about. There's no question why wouldn't we switch this over for him. So I'm glad we had that in place to give us a way to kind of do that in a clean way. The other thing we voted on was to change the qualifying format for the sprint race weekend. So just like we had this past weekend, we did one-shot qualifying, sets the grid for the sprint, and then we have the race after. It brought to a vote to do short quality before the sprint instead of just the one shot, which obviously takes a little bit longer, adds 18 total minutes to it. We had AlphaTauri and McLaren vote against it. The rest were in favor. Of course, with not being unanimous, we leave it the same, which it's only one more race this season. Like, that would have only changed one race, so I don't think it's the end of the world. And a little fun fact, if you go check out those sheets that we have up there, saved in Season 5 news, and if you notice after the first one, those are actually our signatures at the bottom of those sheets. So I thought that's another kind of fun, silly thing we do, but
Yeah,
that was kind of cool to do. So
Oh,
thanks for Austin for throwing those on there.
yeah, pretty cool. Dude, I'm sorry. I was laughing my ass off. I'm trying not to piss my pants laughing. I just saw a meme I'm gonna post in the F1 team gossip, and I'm gonna post. I had to mute my mic because I was like about to lose my mind. It's pretty fucking funny. Anyways, thanks.
It's been so good with those.
Thanks for that. I didn't mean to open up my internet browser and Twitter popped up and it's just this thing just staring at me. I'm like, oh no, that's not
Oh
good.
man.
That's
It's
not good for
another
the pod.
Lewis one, isn't it?
It sure is. It's actually hilarious.
Of course it is.
All right, cool. I think that wraps it up for us, guys. We're 50 minutes in. Anybody got anything else before we bounce?
Yeah, I have one last piece. I want to let you guys go first if you have anything else, but I have one last piece I want to go over for something else that we're doing as well.
Adam, what you got? Anything?
No, but I'd just like to say thanks for having me on. Pleasure to be on the pod, and yeah, I'd be happy to come on again at some point. But yeah,
David, fire away.
All right. Adam, thanks for coming on. It's so nice. I mean, we already put so much time into practicing for the race. For the race, we're adding sprints. We're making you guys do short quality. It's all this different stuff. So to take an extra hour out of your day and sit down and talk with us, I really appreciate it. And of course, appreciate all the people that are listening to this as well. So in that fashion, podcast and listening. As you guys saw, their new podcast is out, Beyond the Grid by Matthew Painter and Keaton. This idea kind of sparked. I think Painter wanted to do something along these lines for a little while, but didn't know maybe what exact avenue he wanted to take. He's done some podcasting over in his other group, kind of over just sports, mostly football, and he's been really good, getting good, especially like with the editing and stuff like that. I know he stays up all night and does it, so pretty cool. And they put together a show, Beyond the Grid, and it's a sit down with a different driver each week. If you haven't seen it, they did one with Richard this week, and it was honestly a blast to listen to. It's all kind of about their lives and the driver themselves outside the paddock, so to speak. But it's just a really good blend of kind of their personal lives with what they bring into the league and kind of how they view the league and the way that they look at it. And it's just really cool. It's really fun. It's a really cool way to get to know people. Richard was an awesome one. And if you stayed with us this long into the podcast, I can let you know that their upcoming guest with Matthew and Keaton this week will be Doug, who we spoke about earlier. So Matthew's partner on Aston Martin. Hopefully, there's no drama in there. They leave the boxing gloves at home and support each other a little bit. Just kidding. I think it's going to be great. I think they're going to have a lot of fun in there. Again, hats off to those guys. We put out all these different things between this podcast, and then we have Matthew's kind of unfiltered version. We have the Beyond the Grid with those guys. We have the weekly spotlight that Real does, and I think what we have kind of talked about this week is I'm so impressed on how we do all these different things, and they really don't overlap too much. I mean, I think Real's driver spotlight still has a very different approach from like what they do with the Beyond the Grid, and it has a different approach of kind of the league overview stuff that we kind of do on here. So it's just if you want more out of a league, I don't know what to tell you. Like everything's here. It's just take whatever out of it you want. And I hope that you enjoy listening to all the different things and stuff like that because the work that Matthew and Keaton are putting in on that, like it's just awesome. And it definitely shows how serious they're taking it and everything whenever you listen to that. So shout out to them and shout out to Doug being on there and look forward to it.
Cool. Couldn't have said it better myself.
I
Yeah.
just have
Go ahead, Adam.
I just have to say one quick thing on that about everyone kind of doing all the stuff that they create. It's really cool to see kind of how people make this league breathe in terms of like not we aren't just hopping on once a week and racing and then don't chat for another week. Like it's truly like a I don't know, breathing living creature. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm trying to figure out a way to describe it, but yeah,
Yeah, man. It's
Yeah.
kudos to everybody who does stuff on this.
yeah, man. It's like a mini family, right? There's we I know more about people in this league than I know about like some of my like what do you want to call them, like real life friends or whatever it is. But you guys are all obviously my real life friends. But I know a lot about people here, and everybody's here to help each other out, which is super cool too. Like if anybody needed anything, they knew they'd come here. So it's definitely a cool family vibe and a sweet little brotherhood we got going on. So cool. All right, guys. Last chance. Anything else before I wrap it up?
Mike, this isn't right.
I knew he was gonna hit a fucking soundboard right at the end. I just knew it, guys. I knew it. All right, cool. Well, at that rate, thanks everybody for tuning in. Like David said, all your questions, comments, and concerns, please feel free to post in there. Make sure to give thumbs up on the pod and things like that. Give people love who are doing the episodes of whatever it is that they're doing, whether it's no breaks given, whether it's this podcast or anything else. Make sure to show the love for that. With that, I will see you in Portugal, and I am hoping for no rain. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm praying for no rain. We'll see you guys in a week.